I've been in Washington, D.C. since 1985, fighting this epidemic. I came at the beginning of Reagan's second term. It was such a fun time, those Reagan years. And I was looking at Bob's graph, and what I loved about your graph, Bob, was 1996. 1996 was the year. 1996 was the year that we got protease inhibitors. It was the year that changed the entire context of this epidemic. Up until then, all of our lives were about funerals and hospital visits and memorials. All of a sudden, we could breathe. Now, I will be honest with you and say 96 to 2000, I was still waiting for the other shoe to drop. But now, we can breathe a little bit. Except we can't. And that's where I need your help. This week, NASDAQ announced that there are over 7,000 Americans on ADAP waiting lists. 7,000. In the United States of America, there are 7,126 people waiting for drug. And that's wrong. And that's not okay. And you all are both the people who have to experience it and the people who should be holding the leadership accountable for the fact that this is wrong and that we need all of your voices to say no more.
That's right.
You see, I want you to have that friendship among each other. I want you to have that sense of collegial, I want you to have that sense of, I'm there for you, but I also want you to be there for that person who just got diagnosed and who was scared shitless. I want you to be there for that person who's on a waiting list and trying to figure out how do they get into a patient assistance program and what does this mean to my drug. There is, in Puerto Rico, the situation has gotten so difficult that people were only being given 5 days of drug at a time. And they would have to come back every 5 days and stand outside in line for almost 2 hours waiting for their next 5 days. That's wrong. And what we have now in front of us is a moment that's going to test our leadership. But we can't do it without you, because you're the real voices. You're the people on the front lines who need to tell your leadership the truth about your lives. I'm scared about what's going to happen in Washington. I have to tell you, I've been there for 20 years, and I've never seen it as difficult as it is right now. I've never seen the level of vitriol that we currently have. They don't care if you die. And you need to know that.
That's right.
They do not care. And sometimes I think we forget that. I mean, I forget that. I always believed that at the end of the day, we would do the right thing. I always, at least I hope that in my heart. Well, now I need your help to make sure that we do. Now I need you all to stand up and tell your elected officials to do the right thing. Because it's not just about you. It's about your friends, it's about your family, and it's about the people that you love. And that until you stand up and tell your story, we are never going to fix this problem. And I know that it's very scary. I know that disclosure is a very scary thing to do. I know that the shame and stigma attached with being on a waiting list, the shame and stigma attached of not having access to health care, the shame and stigma attached of being one of them is very powerful. But you see, that was what made Marty so amazing. Because in that moment, when there was all this shame, when there was all this sadness, he stood up and said, I will be counted. And I guess that's what I need from all of you. I need you to stand up and say, I will be counted. My voice matters. This is what's happening to me. Because when you do that, you transform not just your life, but the lives of your friends and the lives of the people in your community. And the power of meetings like this is that you get to build this relationship with each other. But the true success of this meeting is when you take that relationship and bring it to the bigger world. You know, if we keep it all here in Fort Walton Beach, you know, that's a good thing. But if we take it to the world, that's a great thing. Yeah. And, yeah, wow, that's exactly. And so I say this to you as a person who loved Marty, who loved the 32 other people who started the National Association of People with AIDS with me, who loves the work that Butch is doing, to say, as you are going home tomorrow, spend the moment to ask yourself, how can I stand up? How can my voice matter? How can I do something that will change the course of this epidemic? Because right now, without your voice, we are never going to change the course of this epidemic. And that's as real as I can be with all of you. So I'm going to close with a couple stories. And my first story is, so, you know, truly, when you're the oldest queen in the world, this is the lesson I got on how to be brave. Because I think bravery and courage are the defining factors in this epidemic, and what makes the difference between people who just live and people who contribute. So there was a rap group, I don't know if you know, they're called Salt and Pepper. We love Salt and Pepper. They had this song called Let's Talk About Sex. So for my agency, the National Minority AIDS Council, they changed the words. And they did a song called Let's Talk About AIDS. And they gave us the residuals. And so I get to go to one of these Salt and Pepper concerts. And the lights are going bing, 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 bing. And the music is going dun, 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 dun. You know, please, I'm such a great singer. And Salt and Pepper run up on stage. And I get to run up with them and they say, everybody say yo. Yo. Everybody say yo. Yo. Everybody say pussy. Pussy. Well, I fell to the floor. I am a politically correct homosexual. I do not use the P word in my life. And Salt turns to me and she says, baby, if you can't say the word, you can't hang with the girls. And if you don't hang with the girls, you can't talk to young people. And if you don't talk to young people, you can't teach them about safe sex. And so I screamed pussy at the top of my lungs. It was one of the most liberating experiences of my life. And I tell you that story because I need each and every one of you to have the courage to scream pussy in a crowded room. You'd be surprised. You would be surprised what it does for your life. It has completely liberated me. I now feel comfortable in saying that word everywhere I go. My mother looks at me like, you're saying that word again? Pussy, 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 pussy. You know, and as a gay man, it's not a word that comes into my vocabulary very much. But that is the courage to change the world. That is the courage to stand up for your life. That is the courage to take your medications, to fight to make sure that your friends get their medications, and to make sure that you live. Because when you live, you honor Marty. When you live, you honor all the people who came before you, who fought so hard to make sure that you could live. And so go home to your best friend, scream pussy, and fight like hell for people who are living. Thank you so much.